All right, everybody, now we want to welcome to the Jimmy Star Show with Ron Russell, the incredibly talented Dave Barbarossa. Hello and welcome to the show.
Hello, I'm glad to be here.
There you go. Before we get started, let me introduce you to everybody, starting off with my cool, outrageous man about town co-host, Mr. Ron Russell.
Now, isn't this full of crap? We've already spoke. They know. What are we doing with this?
He didn't know your name. We didn't even tell him your name.
People, they
Ron.
Yes.
Ron.
What?
Meet you, mate.
Nice to meet you. You know who you sound like?
Go on.
Jason.
Oh, he's got a hard-on for Jason Statham.
And you sound just like Jason. You have the same accent that Jason has.
And you got a bald head.
And yes, he does. And you have the same voice as Jason. Boy, are you lucky.
Hold on. So then we got the man behind the boards, Mr. Chad Murphy.
Mr. Barbarossa, welcome to the show, sir.
All right, sir, how you doing?
Doing well, thank you. Thanks for
And
joining
as
us.
we said before, Barbarossa in Italian means red beard. So obviously he's Italian, and now I'm going to find out what kind of Italian he is.
Oh.
I'm a Hackney Italian. In fact, I'm not Italian at all.
He's not Italian.
How could you not be Italian with Barbarossa?
Not possible. It was a name given to me by a manager many years ago, Malcolm McLaren. Gave me this name.
Malcolm McLaren, I love him. The singer Malcolm McLaren, who did Fans? Who did Fans? Who?
Vivian Westwood, Sex Pistols. Malcolm McLaren.
No. Malcolm McLaren. Didn't he do McLaren? He did an album called, I just said the name and I forgot.
Anyway.
Fans, F-A-N-S. I have that album by Malcolm
McLaren. I don't think it's the same one. This is like a way more famous Malcolm McLaren.
Mine is one of my favorite albums. It's fabulous.
Hold on. Because first of all, people have to know who you are. First of all, we have a chat room full of people. So say hello to everybody in the chat room.
Right, chat room.
Every country is represented. And then you got the and say hi to Eileen Shapiro because she's in the chat room too.
Oh, Eileen, good. My mate, my coffee drinking
You know Eileen
mate.
Too?
Absolutely. So let's.
It's amazing how many men in England have known her. The biblical sense, maybe. I don't know.
You gotta love it. So first of all, you guys, to give you an idea of who Dave Barbarossa, he's like one of the most popular, highly decorated like drummers in music history. He was a member of the original Adam and the Ants. He's like played with. I watched you and Roland Gift, you playing drums on a bunch of videos with Roland Gift from Fine Young Cannibals today, and like they were awesome, and they were like really good videos that actually show you drumming like the whole time, and they were on YouTube, and I was like, oh my god, how awesome is that? Like you gotta like. So we're gonna talk about that in a minute because I love the Fine Young Cannibals.
But I'd like to talk right now about Adam Ant. Has Adam Ant ever gotten over Eileen Shapiro? And the affair that he had with her, he had such an affair with her. He was mad about her, and she just yawned up bored and said, "Excuse me, but I'm going to go out with somebody else now." So she went out with Ozzy. Ozzy left his wife for Eileen.
Yeah, come on, Eileen.
Yeah. So first of all, are those all gold? Are those your gold records for BowWowWow?
Yeah, some BowWowWow, some with Republica. I'm going to turn away from them because they're a bit embarrassing. How's that? Is that better?
No, leave them. Those are honors. You worked hard for those. Don't you dare. Put the camera back on those. Enjoy the moment. We love it. We love award winners. We don't want dirtbags on our show.
So everybody, Dave Barbarossa was the drummer for BowWowWow. You guys know BowWowWow, I Want Candy.
I know.
You know, everybody like knows. There's probably not a person on the planet who doesn't know I Want Candy.
I know it. So everybody knows it.
So tell us a little bit about, because that was where you worked with Malcolm McLaren. When I was in England, I used to be a clothing designer.
It is.
Oh yeah, that's Brandy. That's Brandy.
OES, Old English Sheepdog Terrier.
And if she doesn't sit here with us, she eats the carpet in the house. On Wednesdays is the only day she eats carpet. When we're on the air, she tears the house up if we don't let her sit on the TV show with us.
She's like a friend of mine who eats a lot of rug. Munches rug. Is it rug muncher?
Rug muncher. Yeah.
She's a toy.
When I was in England though, like many years ago, actually, because Vivian Westwood was my favorite clothing designer ever. and I was a clothing designer, and so like I was at her store looking, and she actually came in. She rode a bicycle, and she came into the store, and I got to meet her. It was like one of my, as a clothing designer, it was one of my favorite things like ever. So the fact that you worked with Vivienne Westwood, and you guys were managed by Malcolm McLaren, and you had like this huge like international worldwide hit. Like, speak a little bit of it.
Well, it was just a fantastic time. Malcolm was a genius. He gave us a sound, and we sort of executed his ideas. And Vivienne, obviously, a fantastic designer. We looked unusual. We sounded unusual. Quite a pioneering sounding band. I think any of your listeners would have seen us. We didn't sound like anyone else, and it burned brightly for a short while, and then it went. Live.
Like everything does. That's
now,
almost
wait
like
a minute.
everything.
I'm busting here because Michael McLaren.
Malcolm McLaren.
McLaren. I say Claren. You say Claren because you're.
But it's not Michael. It's Malcolm.
Malcolm, because you're from Florida, and Florida people talk different than Brooklyn, New York people. I'm from Brooklyn. It's Malcolm McLaren. Chad, please do me the kind favor. Look up an album called Fans, Fans. All sung and produced by Malcolm McLaren. Could you do that for me? I'm going to die. It's the same one. I'm telling you, it's a great album. Oh, my God. It's one of my favorite albums.
It's not going to be the same guy.
It's the same guy, you dildo. Of course it is.
Yes, I see it.
You see it?
Yes, sir.
Now, what's the name of the singer?
Well, Malcolm McLaren, isn't it?
Yes, and spell it so we know it's the same fella.
MALCOLMMCLAREN. Malcolm
Is that
McLaren.
who we're talking about, folks?
That is, but I don't know if that's his album.
That's his album called Fans, and he sings in it, and it's a great album.
Different Malcolm.
Yeah, Malcolm.
Double Dutch and like Madam Butterfly and.
Yes, Madam Butterfly. That's the song that's on Fans.
Is that the same Malcolm McLaren?
Yes, it is. I'm not crazy.
It's a 1984 album.
1984 album, and Madam Butterfly is one of the great songs on it.
Fusing opera with R&B is what it says.
Okay.
He's a fabulous performer. You know him?
You're right. Yeah, it was his manager.
He's your manager? Do you ever talk to him again?
He's passed. He's gone,
He's
Malcolm.
dead now.
Oh, you're kidding. Oh, that's sad. I loved him. I loved his voice. I loved his music. What a shame he died. Did he die violently? Like one of his clients killed him or something? Usually that's what happens to managers in Hollywood. They're all assassinated by the stars.
So hold on, let's go back. Okay, so because you have really, you like he's all over the place. You've like worked with some of the biggest.
Because I'm not boring.
Acts. You've been with some of the.
I don't beat a dead horse.
I don't want to beat a dead horse, but there's a million Adam and the Ant people like listening, and they want to hear a little bit about it. He's one of the original members of Adam and the Ant.
Yeah, well, we established that. What's
I know. Well,
he
can tell about it. Talk about it. So
Adam Ant is a very private person. He doesn't do interviews. He doesn't like anybody discussing his private life.
I know, but he's in the band. He was in the band.
But he's not going to squeal on Adam.
I don't just squeal. How was it? Are you still because you toured with Adam and the Ant also, right?
Yeah, I mean, I played with him in the very early days, the punk rock days, about 4 years in the very early days in London, and I made an album called Dirk Wears White Socks, which I played the drums on, and a load of other recordings. Fantastic gigs in the punk rock era in London, and then many years later, I toured with him in the States, and then recently, or a couple of years ago, I did some big shows in England with him as well. So every 10 years, we do some shows together.
Okay, everybody listening, are you thrilled, Adam Ant fans? Wasn't that fabulous information? I don't care about Adam Ant. I want to know about you. You're my guest, and I want to interview you, Mr. Barbarossa. I'm not interested in Adam Ant. Cute that you work with him. Well, I work with Jane Russell, so screw all of you. All right, now let's go. What are you doing now? What am I going to love you for with all those gold albums?
Well, as your partner in crime said, I'm playing with Roland Gift, Fine Young Cannibals. And
I know that.
I'm putting some maybe some tribal drumming music, solo drumming music together.
Nice.
Where I really do a lot of showing off and bashing about. And so that'll be coming your way maybe the beginning of summer, a solo project.
I love it. I love that.
Have you done a solo project before?
Yeah, I've done some side projects where I've kept busy and done some small shows in England, but I've never really taken myself seriously in a solo project. So that's what I'm going to do this year, definitely.
One of my favorite musics is percussion. I love percussion music. Love it.
Okay.
You know what percussion means?
Drums.
Yeah. I mean, how he ever got on this show? I'll never know.
Like, because we actually have had a ton of drummers on the show. Like,
no, these drums are different drums. They're like prehistoric. They're like, not prehistoric. They're like folk drums. They're like Cuban bass drums. They're like African drums. When they combine all of that, it's the most fabulous music you'll ever hear. And if you don't move with it and shake your ass, you're dead. Right?
Right.
When I hear drums, I dance like an old whore. I mean, I shimmy like a slut. I love it. When am I going to send me your music when you make it? Promise?
I will do, Gov. Yeah, I will
Seriously,
do.
and I'll play it on the show.
Thank you so much.
No, don't thank me. Just send the music. Promise me now.
Promise you.
Okay.
I went online and Googled you about other things that you've done, and like music that you've played drums on has been featured like in a million like movies, television shows, commercials. Like really, you've had an outstanding career to go with all those gold albums, huh?
You send me the checks.
Yeah.
You know, drums are beautiful. Remember Gene Krupa?
Yeah, of course.
There's nobody till date could play drums still like Gene Krupa. All right, he was loaded on dope like you wouldn't believe. I mean, he was flying 100 miles an hour, but he could play drums like nobody could.
Fantastic. Yeah,
I'm actually being reminded by fans in the chat room that you wrote a book. You wrote a book a couple of years ago. It's called Mud Sharks, and I thought actually when I first started reading about it, I thought it was actually like about you, but basically it's a fictional story about a musician, but it's not actually you, even though probably some of it's stuff that happened to you.
Yeah. I mean, it's a novel memoir. It's a book about my sort of childhood, school days, and early days on the drums with Adam and people.
Well, give us a little of it.
It's called Mud Sharks, first of all, everybody, and you can get it by – where do the people go to get it if they're interested in getting it?
Get it on Amazon and all the rest of it, the usual.
There you go.
So give us an interesting story about when you were young on drums.
Well, boy, you've really put me in a spot there.
No. I mean, did you go out and like steal wallets from people to pay for drums? I mean, you know, there's got to be a heartbreak story somewhere there.
No, I was pretty poor. In those days, we used to have milk delivered by the milkman on the steps, and I used to get up every morning nice and early, go to work, and steal all the milk bottles and drink them.
See that? That's very Brooklyn.
Do they really like still like they didn't have milk bottles when I was little?
That's because we had milk bottles when I was little.
Yeah, but you're a little bit older than me.
Yeah, right.
No, like you're not old. He's not old enough to have milk bottle. How old are you?
I'm really effing old. And as your partner would tell you, a lady never reveals her age. Jane Russell never revealed her age, and I certainly won't.
Right. Right, but age doesn't matter. But yes, I remember icebox too. We had an icebox on the porch of our house, and the iceman used to come with a big block of ice on his back and stick it in the icebox. This was during the Second World War, like 1944, 45, when you couldn't get things like refrigerators because they were manufacturing bombs. They didn't have time or product to manufacture a refrigerator. The minute the war was over, then, of course, we all had beautiful refrigerators, no longer the Iceman. And the poor Iceman had to go sell drugs because he couldn't make a living.
Yeah.
Steal milk bottles.
Yes.
Steal milk bottles. I love that story. See, those are the kind of things I love. I don't want, like, Donald Trump people who were born into it. You know, I like to hear the people that had it hard and rough and became successful, like your beautiful things on the wall there, your gorgeous awards. That makes me happy that somebody stole milk bottles, has those awards. That shows a real good person.
I've worked really hard, but I've been really lucky and met some wonderful people that have helped me. So
I think you're lucky. I think you're talented. I know a lot of people that were lucky and they turned to shit. You're talented. You don't get gold medals for being lucky.
Gold albums.
Well, gold albums, gold medals. What the hell is the difference? It's still an award. I don't have any.
So do you have fun groupie story? Like, was it fun like back in the day touring with all the different famous bands and being in all the famous bands where like women just throwing their panties at you?
Yeah, we had a great time back in the day.
Well, men throwing jockey shorts at you.
I'm a gentleman.
That you learn from swiping milk bottles. Integrity. That's what I love. Integrity.
So if you were gonna like have a bucket list and you were gonna put together a bucket list and be like, okay, if I was gonna be the drummer and I could be the drummer for like any band, living or dead, who would you want to be the drummer for?
I don't have a bucket list for that. I've played with the legends, and I'm honoured to have done so. You know.
Oh my God, that's a great answer too. I love it.
That's a Ron Russell answer. I love that?
It is such a good answer because like other people usually have something to say. Other people can't say they've already played with the legends.
I do that because I interviewed the legends with my TV show in California. I interviewed the great Jane Russell, Cliff Robertson, Lauren Bacall, Betty Davis. On the list goes on and on. So when people say to me like, well, who have you ever interviewed? Like sarcastic, I say, darling, I interviewed the legends, and they're all gone.
Oh, man. So I guess it doesn't look good for me in the future then.
Oh, but seriously, I love that line. You did. You played with the legends. I love that line. Never lose it. Use it all the time.
Because
you earned it. You deserve it. You earned it. Just like me. I had to really bust chops to get those stars to work with me when I was a nobody. If it wasn't for my buddy Jane Russell, who gave me the break, I said, Jane, I'm not going anywhere as an actor. I said, I want to do interviews. Would you let me interview you? She said, absolutely. And my interview with Jane Russell was my audition that got me on Time Warner Cable in Los Angeles.
Well, there you go.
You gotta
my
love it.
Sweetheart Jane. And really, Jane Russell was my best friend.
So also, you guys, if you want to like find out what's going on with Dave and find out more about his book and all those different things, you can go to barbarossabeat.com. Is that a good website, right? barbarossabeat.com?
It's an awful website. I'm a man of my time. I haven't got a clue about website. Best to get me on Facebook. Dave Barbarossa on Facebook. I'll talk to anyone. Don't bother me.
Oh, there you go. Dave Barbarossa on Facebook. I'm going
to friend you because I want that album, The Drums.
That's going to come out this year.
I'm not going to let him forget. Because I'm going to make you look bad. If I don't get that album, I'm going to say, oh, everybody out there listening and all over America, every country, 4.5 million people, Barbarossa's full of shit. I never got my album. So I best get that album, and I will because I love percussion.
Actually, too, our guest before you was Nigel Carr, and he's like one of the editors for Louder Than War. I asked him if he knew you. He said he knew who you were, but he didn't really know you.
Right, because you're untouchable. You're reproachable.
Because you're under approach. But so when you go, do you do solo shows of yourself and play like any of the hits from some of the other groups you're in? Or if you were to do a solo show, do you just play your hits, or what do you do?
Well, I mean, that's what I'm planning to do is basically get a show together where I can show all my styles off in a really good modern way, and play my heart out and give my best on the drums, because that's my passion. It still is, and I'm lucky to do it. Lucky that people are still interested in listening to me.
Absolutely.
Good for you. I want that album. I'm going to play it. You'll see. You'll see. Now listen, I want to ask you a question. You don't have to answer it, but it's a question that I'm curious about. We have many, many good friends who are singers who had hit records, like Joya. What's Joy's last name? Bruno from Expose. Big American groups. They got robbed and they made money like nothing, like zero money. Wendy Moten, a fabulous singer, the same thing happened to. BNGB it happened to. Did it happen to you?
It did, yeah. Mainly by lawyers and accountants. Taking bits of your publishing, filching money off you. It's happened to me all my career, and millions of musicians that I know. It's just one of those sad things. We don't have a business brain. We're just like passionate, open people. And then these piranhas come along and they
just rob you blind.
Yeah, I have literally.
That is so sad. I'm so sorry that happened to you.
They can't rub the experiences and the life and the love that we've had. They can't take that.
Yeah, but today
they can't take away the gold albums.
Today they can't get away with that anymore. You know that because groups today hire certain people that protect them from that crap. I mean, Expose made millions of dollars, millions. I'm not talking 100, millions. And you know how much Joy you wound up with? Not even 5,000.
They didn't get anything. Literally,
No,
Expose is a really good friend.
They had to sue. Oh, what a fucking
They had to
mess.
sue to get their name, but they actually, they sold 10, 12 million records, and they used to get paid $200 a night, and they would sell out 30,000-seat arenas.
Imagine what crooks, what rotten crooks in the music business. So anybody out there young, wait, hang on. Anyone out there young, starting off in the music business, watch it. Be careful. It's one of the biggest rip-off businesses in the world. It's worse than being a Hollywood star when they rip you off.
Hey, Dave, so somebody Hannah Clive, she's a singer from the UK who's in the chat room, and she wants to know if you still play with Saffron for Republica.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, I don't play for Republica anymore, but I did. Play for them for a few years. Great bunch, great guys. Saf's a fantastic girl. I see her now and again around town in London. So, yeah, that was a great thing to do.
I gotta love it. Like everybody in the chat room, they all know it. Everybody in the chat room knows all kinds of stuff about you.
Now, another thing I wanted to ask you: in the United States, thank God,
yes,
jazz clubs are coming into vogue. People are going and sitting in a club, sends the cigarettes, no smoking anymore, but with a little round table and listening to a great jazz quartet. Do you have that in England?
We do. We have jazz. We have a great club called Ronnie Scott's Club in the centre of London. It's a legendary jazz club where all the great American jazz players have played. But there's loads of. There's tons and tons of places to listen to live music all over Britain. So there's a tradition here of jazz as well.
So you should be able to book yourself in with your percussion show.
Yes, I should be able to.
And then maybe you could come to the States and I can hear you in person in California.
Well, you get the airfare together and somewhere to live and I'll come over.
You got to go deposit bottles like the guy before us did.
Do you know Tim Mudderman?
Oh, no. Who is he? No, rings a bell.
He's one of the touring guitar player guys for Gary Newman.
Oh, yeah. Well, I love Gary Newman. He's brilliant, yeah.
Actually, they were just saying because the girl Hannah Clive in the chat room says if you know Saffron, she's a friend of Gary Newman, and he was at Newman's gig in Brighton, and with I Am Warface Matt, and of course Gary and Tim Mudderman. Well, there's a whole bunch of shit, but anyway, and they're all saying that you're a fabulous drummer. It says fabulous. Did you play on Ready to Go?
Well, I've played it a few 100,000 times live. Yeah.
It says fabulous drums on Ready to Go. If that was you.
Do they do that anymore? They don't do drum solos anymore like years ago. A band years ago used to let you do a drum solo.
That's right, yeah.
No more. They don't do that. It's a pity because the drums are such a wonderful instrument. I love drums. I made that clear.
Me, mate. Yes.
I do. I love. If I were to ever be in an orchestra, two things I wanted to play: piano and definitely drums, because I've got rhythm. Believe me, I got major rhythm. Ask my ex-wife.
Actually, they're telling you ask your ex-wife. That's
my
terrible.
ex-wife about my
so they're also saying, once you put your show together, that we got to see if they can get you to come to New York. They want to see you in New York.
Yeah, you gotta build yourself up. Get yourself good PR people. Get the word out there and come to America.
You're right, mate. I will. I've got to get a good sound.
So we got to go.
Get over there.
All right, everybody.
You got to work on it, babe.
So listen up, you guys. Look up Dave Barbarossa on Facebook, since he said he's not so good with the other stuff. I couldn't find a Twitter that you actually tweeted on, so
I'm not sure.
I don't do any of that stuff either, so don't feel bad.
So that's okay.
Thanks.
So you guys get his book. Read a great fictional musical story. It's Mud Sharks. It's his first novel. You got another one? You're going to do another one?
Yeah. There might be another one out this year with a bit of luck. Yeah.
A lot of people were saying, for a first effort, it was pretty good and it was an enjoyable story, and that they thought that you should do another one. Because I Googled you to see what people said, and so people liked it. And so check out Mud Sharks, you guys. Check out Dave Barbarossa on Twitter. On Facebook, sorry. Listen to all his music. Check it out. And go on YouTube, you guys, and just Google him with Roland Gift and watch the videos. They're really, really cool, and it shows you, really drumming away, which is very exciting. So everybody check it out. And, Dave, we want to thank you for coming on the show. Wish you the best with everything, and keep us posted with the new music, because we'll bring you back on and promote it.
And, Dave, best of luck to you. Get off your ass. Get going. Make it happen. And send me my freaking album or else.
Okay. Thanks very much, Vince. Thanks,
you.
Eileen.
You're totally a gent. Bye, babe. Take care, my friend.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Everybody loves drums.
Nice guy. It's a shame that talent like that got robbed so badly. I mean, could you imagine working with groups like Adamant and all the majors that he worked with, and he's not a zillionaire?
Fine Young Camels.
Right, and he's not a zillionaire today. The poor